In today's video, I will take you through my journey of buying my first rental property. To give you a quick background, buying a rental property is very similar to buying a primary home. Your primary home is not an investment. You should only consider it as a place that you live, which hopefully will make you some money in the future when you go and sell it. But as long as you live in it and you're not generating any income from your primary home, it is a sort of a liability rather than an asset, which is what is Robert Kiyosaki's opinion in the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is a Bible for many investors out there. That said, you can also apply the same principles in this video to buying your primary home as well. It's the same set of steps, but in this video, I want to cover the few things that are unique to buying a rental property. So here's the rental property that I currently own, which is a duplex in the greater area of Seattle, Washington. And Seattle, Washington is a high cost of living city, and all the suburbs around Seattle are also pretty high cost of living. But there is also a way to make cash flow from your rental property in high cost of living areas as well, if you buy the right type of property and if you buy the right deal. Buy a mobile home and rent it out, or you can get into Airbnb rentals, or you can do a special types of rentals like tiny homes, or you can rent out the place that you are currently renting. There are so many different strategies out there. The strategy that I'm going to cover today is small multifamily rental properties, which means duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes. What do these words mean? Duplex is a property where there are two units on this property, and when you purchase it, you own both the units. So it works quite similar to buying a regular house, which is a single family home. But in this case, instead of one family living there, two families can live there. And typically they are side by side units, but they could be up and down units, or they could be two separate structures on the same plot of land. And when you go to borrow money from the bank to purchase this property, it works pretty much similar to buying a single family home, because up until the 4-unit level, the bank considers them very similar to a single family purchase. So if you can qualify to purchase a multifamily unit for the amount of money that you have to borrow from the bank, then the restrictions in terms of credit scores and things like that are very similar for a single family versus small multifamily. But there is a few differences in terms of how much down payment you have to put in and things like that. So now let's talk about how to find these properties. So there are a few strategies for this as well, which I learned from YouTube, especially from a channel called Bigger Pockets, which I will link in the description below. The route that I took is through the MLS, with Fin, Realtor.com, and Zillow.com, which we all know about. So you can definitely find multifamily properties through these websites, which is how I found mine. And so this is the most popular way. This is the easiest way, in the sense that learn how to do this. It's pretty simple, but it is a little bit harder than other strategies to find a property that is profitable, because it is available to everyone. There is also more competition through this option. And the second option is off market, which means that this property is not listed on the MLS, so you cannot find it on redfin.com or any of these websites, but you can get to know about these properties through your contacts. Like maybe your real estate agent is really good and has good contacts, and they get to know these off-market deals. Or you network really well and you know real estate investors in the area or wholesalers in the area who let you know when these properties are available. So that's another route. So in my case, I found this property on Redfin. I was looking for a really long time because I was looking during the crazy housing boom that was going on in the US during the pandemic. So even the multi-family homes, which typically get less competition compared to the single family homes, were also quite competitive in that market. I finally got my offer accepted and I closed on my duplex, which was a very happy moment for me. It's usually better to buy a duplex which has exactly the same configuration on each side. First thing that you have to do is find a really good real estate agent. So a few things to keep in mind when choosing your real estate agent for rental property is try to find someone who knows about real estate investing and who has done this before, who has found multifamilies for their clients before, or even better, invests in multifamilies themselves. So I was fortunate to be referred to an agent by a friend who was very knowledgeable in the multifamily space, especially in this market. And I worked with her throughout this process, and we saw a lot of places and we put offers on a lot of places until we finally succeeded with this duplex. If you go through the usual MLS route, then start making offers. Even if you think you cannot afford a certain property, just make an offer anywhere. Once you make an offer and your offer gets accepted, then you pay your earnest money to the seller, which is kind of like a security deposit that you pay for a rental, which lets the person know that you're serious about this property. You send the earnest money within 1 to 3 days from offer acceptance date, which is normal. And after your transaction is pending, you start your financing process. So typically you ask the seller that you need 30 days to close the transaction. And in some markets it can be more aggressive in times like these, like the housing boom that we went through. They might ask for faster closing, but typically 30 to 60 days is the norm. Once you are done with that whole process, it usually takes 20 days for the lenders to process the paperwork and get the approval from the underwriters. So once that is done, then you basically send your down payment money along with the closing costs to your escrow, which is a third party. And the escrow company, once they receive my money, they receive the money from the lender and they make the transfer between that account to the seller, and they take care of that post, and I officially become the owner once the title is changed into my name. So that's the whole process of the rental property buying. So now I have been getting the rental payments every month, and now that pays for my mortgage completely. And in the near future, I'm going to make some interior updates to the house, which will enable me to charge market rent, because the rent that the tenants are paying right now are below market rent. So once I raise it to market rents, then I will be able to make profit every month after paying my mortgage and property taxes and all the costs that I have to pay for every month, which is called cash flow. And that's why you invest in rental properties.